And good evening from New York. Since his last primetime news conference 6 weeks ago, President Obama, among other things, having signed the stimulus plan into law, having announced a troop increase in Afghanistan, and having unveiled a plan to bring U.S. troops home from Iraq, if not quite as quickly as some had hoped. Tonight in our fifth story on this special post-press conference news countdown, news conference number 2 dominated by some of the most recent developments on the economic crisis, the outrage over those AIG bonuses, giving government the power to take on AIG and other financial institutions, and a $3.6 trillion budget that Obama had sent to Congress. Keep in mind the president has only been in office for 9 weeks. Mr. Obama taking questions from reporters this evening in the East Room of the White House. Earlier today on Capitol Hill, the Treasury Secretary, Mr. Geithner, testifying he believes the Treasury should be granted the power to step in to take control of any failing financial institution like AIG that is not a bank. The president emphasized the necessity of this several times during that news conference. Back at the White House, Geithner's boss explaining why he agrees, why that should have been an option with AIG.
I think a lot of people understandably say, well, if we're putting all this money in there, and if it's such a big systemic risk to allow AIG to liquidate, why is it that we can't restructure some of these contracts? Why can't we do some of the things that need to be done in a more orderly way? And the reason is because we have not obtained this authority. We should have obtained it much earlier so that any institution that poses a systemic risk that could bring down the financial system, we can handle. And we can do it in an orderly fashion that quarantines it from other institutions. We don't have that power right now. That's what Secretary Geithner was talking about.
And for the hilarity moment inside the news industry anyway, President Obama showing little patience for a follow-up question, a second version of a question he'd already been asked about why he had waited a few days to address the outrage over the AIG bonuses.
Why did you wait days to come out and express that outrage? It seems like the action is coming out of New York and the Attorney General's office. It took you days to come public with Secretary Geithner and say, look, we're outraged. Why did it take so long?
It took us a couple of days because I like to know what I'm talking about before I speak.
President Obama also taking on Republican critics of the $3.6 trillion budget he has proposed, critics who seem not to have budget proposals of their own, he noted.
The critics tend to criticize, but they don't offer an alternative budget. Because even if we were not doing health care, we were not doing energy, we were not doing education, they'd still have a whole bunch of problems in those out years, according to CBO projections. The only difference is that we will not have invested in what's necessary to make this economy grow.
In a moment, Mr. Obama's senior advisor, David Axelrod, will join us. Now, let me call in my colleague, Chris Matthews, the host of Hardball, who's in our Washington office. Chris, good evening.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
Well, this was interesting to sort of work in why the president has made himself so public and has been, in some cases, been criticized for this, why he has been out there so much. The Tonight Show, 60 Minutes, a column, an op-ed column in newspapers today. And he mentioned in this answer to Chuck Todd about what sort of sacrifices the American people might be made to expect.
Right.
He mentioned that he wants them paying attention to the debates in Washington. He said, that's why I've been out front. It's as if he's putting himself out as a kind of alternative to the entertainment noise machine and saying, look, I need your attention here. We all need to be concentrating on this.
Well, I don't think he's running for prom king, okay? Yeah. This isn't for celebrity or popularity. He has a very coherent plan here. He is going to force the United States Senate especially to vote up or down on his budget. He's not going to let them walk away and do it piecemeal. He is going to insist, it looks to me, that they take it up as a reconciliation matter where they only require 50 votes to do it. I think he's going to jam it. I think what we're seeing here day after day is this push. I want my budget approved. It's got education, health care, and energy in it. It must be in it. I'm a transformative president. I'm not here just to get by. I'm not just here to get through the business cycle. I'm going to change the American economy to compete in the future. It needs reconstruction. I'm going to do it. So I think he's insisting, if you listen closely, I'm going to go for big casino in a couple of months. I want an up or down vote, and I'm not going to wait for 60 votes. I lost Specter maybe on card check. I'm not going to get 60 votes. I'm going to get 50 and the vice president, and that's going to be enough, Harry Reid. We're going to jam this thing through. That's what I see coming.
And it also,
nobody asked him that tonight. A reporter should have asked asked him. Nobody did. Maybe you'll ask Axelrod. Are you going the reconciliation route? Are you going to sit around and wait for 60 votes that are never going to come? Are you going to jam this through and use the budget process that Ronald Reagan used and get it done?
I'm writing it down. I'll ask him in a minute. Listen, the other thing the other thing I heard in this, though, was a preemptive criticism of what has been said about the president and this question of whether or not he's trying to do too much all at once. And the argument addressed what you just referenced here, which is that to jumpstart the economy, you have to address everything all at once, particularly get health care going and restructure that, because otherwise it doesn't matter what else you do in any other field if we do not restructure health. And so there was a multi-pronged attack
if you don't
here.
care. Keith, if you don't care if this guy succeeds, if you don't care if this country really reforms itself, sure, put it off. Do health care next year, 5 years from now. It'll never get done. Harry Truman talked about doing it. It'll never get done. If you don't care about this country getting more green and dealing with cap and trade, sure, put it off. If you want to lose, put it off. If you want to win, he's got one shot. Look at the numbers today, Keith. You look at them, too. 63%, 64% in the polls out today. He's not going to be there next September and October. He's going to be in the 50s or high 40s. He knows that. This guy knows history. If you want to get it done, he said tonight, a great quote, "We can't wait." I love that quote.
And the other acknowledgments in here, the idea that, again, that the answer about the Andrew Cuomo question here, I like to know what I'm talking about before I speak, and the reference to this country as not being a speedboat, but as a big ocean liner, and twice saying, look, if this were easy, we would have done it already. In fact, the quote was, we would have gotten this done, and everybody could have gone home already. There's a certain acknowledgement that you can tell the American people how bad it is without depressing them or without frightening them. He's trusting people to respond in some sort of adult way. Is that a new thing, an old thing, or what?
Look at what we had in the 90s. We had Dick Morris advising the president, telling him how not to do anything. Do school uniforms, do family home leave, do all these little things, and everybody else sort of like you, and you'll be popular, and you'll be prom king. And this guy says, I don't want all those little things. I came here to do big business. I want to be one of the great presidents. Okay? And he does know he's African-American. I thought it was a good question and a good answer about the impact of race, because he has to be Jackie Robinson. He can't just be some average, mediocre president. He knows that. He has to be transformative. He knows to be a president, he has to be a great one. And that means health care, education, and energy, because he knows, if the people watching don't know, that those are the three things that have been holding us back. It's not just the regular business cycle we're going through right now. We're going through a lagging economy because we lag in health care, we lag on energy, and increasingly we're losing our edge in education. He knows those things have to be fixed for us to really get on a rebound. I thought he was trying to teach us tonight. I thought the reporters were basically zombies out there tonight. They weren't exactly exhilarating company tonight for him. The company, I don't think the ratings are going to be that great tonight, Keith, and you know it. This was not exciting. But behind it was a very intelligent mind working saying, don't you guys out there and women get it? I'm not here to preside. I'm here to lead. And I think he was saying that if you listen closely. He kept going back. We've got to do education. We have to do energy. We have to do health care, or we're not going to really get this country back on the road again.
We'll let the president worry about his ratings, and you and I can concentrate on ours. Chris Matthews will be back live at 11 o'clock with the live special edition.
No, he's our lead-in. Yes. What do you mean? We got to have him.
Chris will be back with Hardball at 11. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.